You record on both screens.
Yeah, it's a recorder.
Does it also record the sound from both computers? I hope not.
Yeah, good point. You'll project better. Yeah, maybe mute yourself there.
So I'll mute here.
Cool. So this doesn't work. How do you?
Yeah, you can put them like that, I guess, no? One next to the other. Why not? I mean, that's what you usually do in vlogs, right?
Go struggle to see.
You think so?
Yeah.
So then just invert it
Oh.
and put the one close to me. Put it on the big one and the other one.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. It's good to see you. We've been working together for
4 months.
4 months now. Cool. So we're going to start off with some quick fire questions, and then we'll have some longer questions. We can just talk.
Perfect.
Ready? Yeah. Feel free to look at the camera. Up to you. Cool. Okay. Let's go with the quick fire questions. So number one, where are you from?
I'm from Romania, born and raised and educated there, and I came to Switzerland for my studies.
Where do you study?
I study here in Lausanne at EHL. I actually study hospitality, so it's not close to tobacco, but I managed to get in.
And you're in the CX team.
I mean, CX team under the retention pillar.
Cool.
Yes.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
I think my favorite sport to watch would be rugby. Because I think it's a great team sport. I like it more than football because I know there's an expression, if they wouldn't be for the chivalry that people have when they play rugby, it would basically be a massacre. So I really like the culture of the rugby game, and also the fact that people cooperate and that they have this etiquette in them that prevents them from going very brutal, and they make the game very civilized and very pleasant, and at the same time dynamic to watch. So that's, for me, it's very engaging.
And have you played rugby?
I tried. I tried for a few months, but due to time, I cannot at the moment.
Okay. And what sports do you play?
Personally, I love working out. For me, it's a sport itself because it's also a sport of breaking barriers. I love going into the gym and just keep breaking my records all the time. It also builds you a culture of nutrition, which I don't have at the moment, but I think it's a good blend of everything. But as for a sport, I like tennis. I think it's a very beautiful game to play, and you don't need that many people to play it. You can have one opponent, be it a friend or an actual competitor. It's nice, it's engaging, it's dynamic. I love it.
Super cool. And you said you powerlift.
Not really power lift, but yes, I love compound movements if that helps.
Okay. And you got some hobbies.
As for the hobbies, I'm really into automotive. I love cars. Not a big fan of Formula One. I'd rather watch MotoGP, but I'm basically a fan of everything that has an engine. So from cars to motorcycle, boats, and airplanes. I think here it's because of my upbringing. I was always around my family, and we have some instances of people that worked with cars. So I've developed a passion for stuff that you can travel in.
So if you could get any car in the world,
Yes,
for yourself, what would you have?
for myself. First of all, I think the goal is to get much more than one car, right? I would definitely get an old car. I think they have a perfect vibe. I'd get a 57 Carrera. I think the Porsches, the old Porsches, they're basically written history on them. So I think there's a pleasure to drive something that basically marks the evolution of car technology and of car mechanics. So that's why I would get an old car, because you have the raw feeling of driving.
Yeah.
And of course, you cannot use it as a practical day-to-day driver, but still, when you go around having a tour that you can enjoy and feel the real engine under you, I think that's very pleasant.
Of course. And you know how to fix the engines as well?
I know some mechanic, but not a lot. Not a lot. Unfortunately, I wasn't that much around my dad in the garage when I was a kid, but still, it's I got some notions.
All right. That's super cool. Cool. So yeah, you said a few things about your life, and is there anything else that's you find interesting that you like doing, or you want to say about yourself?
To say about myself, I think first of all, my move to Switzerland had a big impact of my life, because when I came here, I realized that most of my values and my morals, the way I was educated and the way I absorbed things in my life, they corresponded very well to this place. And I really like Switzerland as a country, as a mentality, as how things works here, how the society works, and I think it also changed me. I kept obviously a lot of my culture behaviors and everything that my family managed to impregnate in me, but at the same time, I changed the way I behave. First of all, I changed my punctuality, which was a gap before, and also I made a lot of connections here, both locals and international people, and I really like the lifestyle. That's for me something that I discovered.
Well, I'm sure then you can stay a few more years. Yeah. So who in PMI have you spent the most time working with?
I think the person that I spent the most time with was Rania. So she was my direct supervisor. It was her, Naz, the retention head, and also Simon, who was in an acquisition. I think these people sort of accelerated my onboarding by a lot, and by that I mean that when I went in, they facilitated my blending in the company.
Yeah, introduced to people.
Exactly.
And were you working with Simon initially?
With Simon, I wasn't working initially because I'm under retention and he was under acquisition, but I slowly drifted into his department, sort of, because he started involving me in the design lab that we have in CX, which is the tool that I started loving. I think he shared that knowledge with me. He was actually being scepter, so I got it from the person that actually started the project. And although I'm mostly retention focused, I think I like the acquisition side as well. And right now I'm working with Julian as well, some stuff. So it's very interesting to go a bit across your function.
And how did you get the different people you were working with to trust you more and more responsibility?
So I think here, first of all, my supervisor Rania, she really pushed me into all the meetings that she was in and into all the programs that we were touching. So from MGM to digital backlogs to retention teams and everything related to that. And I think by receiving this exposure and by always being proactive myself and very involved, because I always try to learn as much as possible. So I always reached out to people and I went like, hey, please involve me in this. I know it's not something that you started with me, but please involve me in this. For example, in tests, or I would always try to reach out to people and see how I can help. And I was also supported by my team to do that. So that's why I think I built this trust, because I was always there. So that's my view on it.
What's something that they taught you or you learned by doing with months?
Learn by doing, I think, is, in my case, is I learned how the corporate works itself, how the affiliate works. I think that's the thing that I developed in these 4 months. I learned the processes, and I learned how every department communicates with each other. What are the steps, for example, for a test? Where does it go? What does it hit? How does it come out? And I think that's very important, because when I first came in, I was quite shocked by all the processes. I never saw myself working in a corporate company, so that was off in the first days. But then I realized that the people created an environment and I would call it a casualness in the way they work that helps you blend very easily in these processes. And of course, you need to have processes because otherwise you cannot manage a project properly. So,
and you've mentioned a few times that you've come up with some interesting initiatives, and I was curious to hear more about them. How do you come up with them? If you had to give advice to another intern.
So for me in this case, it's interesting because I think it also depends on one's creativity, but I think everyone has a potential to improve anything in this company, in our products, in our brand. And I think you don't just need to catch the right moment. I don't think ideas can come out of the blue, so you need to have some context. So for example, you're in a presentation, someone brings up a topic or even something that is ongoing, and you spot something that you think could be improved or could be changed. And I think it's always good to ask. That's very important, to just raise your hand and ask. I don't think there's any wrong question, especially as a newcomer. You have the right to ask. And what you need to understand is that the people here, they're ready to hear you. And that's very important because as an intern, you're heard, and what you say is actually taken into consideration, even if it's something that's actually implementable or not, right? So I think it's always good to ask, raise your hand, voice your opinions. And then what I did in my case is whenever I received something to do, I would always go beyond and put my personal input in it. So put my own ideas. And I think from that, I managed to raise some initiatives that might be useful for the future.
And did you find somebody to mentor you on this, somebody external or your parents or somebody within the company?
No, I don't think so. I think it was all internal. I told you my supervisor was very supportive in that, and also we fortunately have a director that's also very involved in the innovation idea. So, for example, in one of my projects, he asked me to do something small. I did it, and I realized there's an entire universe laying around it that we haven't tapped in, and I showed him that he really liked it, and now I'm currently working on it. So it also depends on the people that you work with. That's very, very valid.
Sure. Yeah. So if you had to go back into the first weeks of your internship, is there any advice you give yourself?
I think to take it easy. That's something that I would tell myself, because when you first enter the office and you see how many meetings you have and you don't know any of the acronyms, you're not familiar with any of the processes, you might be a bit scared. And then there's also times during the internship when you don't have that much, let's say, that many tasks to do. And that, I think, is the moment where you have to reach out to people by yourself, because everyone is busy. We have all a lot of meetings, and sometimes maybe your supervisor is not available. So what I did is I just tried to do my own things and reach out to people that would need help. So I think, and that I started, but I didn't start right away. So that's something that I would advise myself on.
Very good. Is there anything you'd like to see different about the company, or something that you would change about the company if you could?
Look, I think the corporate culture is very, very good. For me as an intern, the only thing that was a bit lacking when I joined was the recruitment process, actually. So what I didn't like that much about it was basically the response rate, and it's not only my personal opinion here. I gathered some info from some more friends that applied to the company. It usually takes very long to receive an answer, and that's not only the problem, because of course there's a lot of applicants, but there's no stimulus given to the applicants within the application process that keeps them on the edge of the seat, right? So there's no sendouts or PDFs or anything that you can look and find out more about the company and feel like they're still in contact with you while they give you that response. So that's one thing that I would personally improve. Other than that, I think the processes are very well set in place. Of course, some of the things might sometimes seem slow because you need a lot of approvals to move on with initiatives. For example, even changing one line of code on the website takes a lot of time, but that's normal because there's so many departments, everyone needs to agree to that, and being such a big corporation, you need to have some standards. So that I would never change.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think I basically covered anything. I just wanted to thank everyone that's been with me in my internship so far. I really had an amazing experience, and I think I discovered that although I didn't envision consumer experience and marketing in general as something that I would do in my life, I'm now almost 100% convinced that this is what I want to do in my future. So this internship has not only given me the chance to learn something new, but also to discover something that I like, which for me it's a big achievement. And also the people that I met here, I bonded with them on also on a personal level. So I managed to build up some relationships that go outside of work, which is also something that's very valuable. So for that, I'm very grateful and thankful.
All right, cool. Thanks.